2 o'clock. Thank you so much for attending this chapter of DesignPoint's SolidNotes webinar series. My name is Loretta Shurka. I'm an application engineer here at DesignPoint Solutions. And in today's webinar, I'm going to be talking about maintaining consistency across drawings. So if you have any questions during this webinar, go ahead and send me a message using GoToWebinar, and I'll get to them at the very end of the presentation. Okay. So maintaining consistency across drawings is especially important when you're working in a collaborative environment, as most of us are these days. So today we're going to take a look at setting up standards that can be used throughout the drawing creation process. The first thing that we'll take a look at is how we can use drawing templates and sheet formats to maintain a consistent starting point for your drawings. Then we're going to see how we can use the Property Tab Builder to maintain consistency and custom properties that we apply as we create our drawing. And then finally, we'll take a look at how we can take our drawings and make them more consistent after we're finished adding content. So there are 3 places that we're going to add in some consistency. Okay, so let's talk about drawing templates and sheet formats. So I'm going to start off here with a little bit of background for those of you who might be new to SolidWorks, and you just need a little background. So what are drawing templates and what are sheet formats? I'll get to what a drawing template is in a minute, but our sheet format can actually just be thought of as a layer in your drawing. It contains your title block, any border you might have, your custom notes, embedded images such as logos, all of your custom properties, and your anchor points. And on top of your sheet format, what you have is your actual sheet. And this is where you add in your drawing views with any dimensions and details you want to add later on. So what's a drawing template? Well, your drawing template, like your sheet format, is also a file which can be saved and shared between SolidWorks users. And it actually includes your sheet format within it. So that's one of the elements inside of that. In addition to your sheet format, your drawing template also contains any document properties you have set in options, and optionally it can also include some predefined standard views. Not section views, but all of your standard views can be included in this. Okay, so let's jump into SolidWorks and take a look at how we can create a custom sheet format drawing template. Jump into SolidWorks. This is what we're going to be creating a drawing of today. And I'm just going to start with a blank sheet of paper. I say New, and I'm just going to select Drawing. This is the default drawing. You'll notice we have some standard sheet sizes here. And what we're going to do is we're going to base our sheet format off of one of these existing sizes. So I'm going to open up the B-ANSI landscape. And you'll see, let me get this task screen out of the way. What we've got is we've got a sheet format here, but if I click on it, I'm clicking all over the place. I can't edit it from here. So what you need to do to access your sheet format is you first right-click, you go to Edit Sheet Format, and all of this appears for us to edit. So we could just edit this one, or we can start from scratch, just box select everything and delete it. And now you can start adding in, oops, I missed some. Now you can start adding in your own border and your own title block. I'm just going to do this very quickly for the sake of demonstration. Okay, so that's just like a very, very simple title block. And now we want to add in some text. To do that, we come up here to our Annotation tab, and we can add in notes. Now you'll notice by default it's going to have a leader on it. So over here in our Feature Manager, you need to click on No Leader if we don't want to have that leader there. Now we can just place this in our title block, and we can start typing. So I'm just going to put in DesignPoint Solutions. Company name, pretty simple. I can control the font size here if I want. And now I've got a little annotation here. The other thing I could do, if I wanted to, is I could actually add another annotation that has a custom property linked to it. I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but I'm just going to show you really quickly. If you click in a box over here in your feature manager, you can then click on this icon, which will link it to a property, and then you can choose to use the custom properties from the current document or the model that you're going to put in your drawing. Then you can choose from the standard ones. Click on SOLIDWORKS, for example, the file name, or you can go into File Properties and create your own custom properties. Okay, so that's the gist of it. The one other thing that I want to point out is that you can insert BMP pictures. So you go to Insert Object, and you select Create from File. You can browse to any kind of a bitmap picture, and then put that in there, and that's how you can define a logo within your title block in your sheet format. So once you're finished getting everything exactly the way you want it, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here to one that I've already created. So here you see I've put in a bitmap picture, and I've done everything exactly the way that I discussed earlier. I'm going to go into Edit Sheet Format again. You can see all the properties that I've added in. Once you get this exactly the way you want it, to save it, you go to File, and then you go to File, Save Sheet Format. It's right here, below Save As. And this is going to save this file in the default folder, which is under Program Data, SOLIDWORKS, the version of SOLIDWORKS that you have, Lang, English, and Sheet Format. This is where all of your sheet formats are stored. And I'm just going to go ahead and overwrite the file that I already created. So that's my sheet format. So now what I want to do is I want to save it as a drawing template. Now, remember I mentioned earlier that drawing templates contain all of your document properties. So I can go in through my document properties and set a bunch of standards here if I would like. This provides a lot of control over how your drawing is going to look. You can set the units. That's a very basic thing, right? So I'm doing inch pound second. You can set the line style, the line thickness, all kinds of things in here. I'm just going to leave it the way it is, but know that that's something that gets saved with this sheet format. And the other thing that we can do is we can insert one of our standard views. So I'm going to come over here, my task pane, my view palette, and I'm going to select this idler arm. I'm going to put in an isometric view. I'm just going to drag it in. You can even set the display style ahead of time. Check. So now I've got one of my standard views in my drawing, and I've got my document properties set, and I have my sheet format. Those are the three things that go into my drawing template. So to save our drawing template, we go to File, Save As, right above Save Sheet Format. And then here under Save As Type, we want to select Drawing Template. And it's going to save it with the extension DRW-DOT. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So that's fine. And now it's going to warn me that the dimensions and annotations will not be imported into my sheet format, or my drawing template, sorry. Okay, so now we see we have this view here. So when we create a new drawing with a different part, what it's going to do is it's going to try and bring in the isometric view and put it right here. Let's jump back into the presentation. Okay, so that's how you create the template, and what you can do with that is to create a standard drawing template in sheet format up front, and then distribute this to everyone working with SOLIDWORKS drawings, either through EPDM, or if there are just a couple of you, you could just email it and just use that throughout the drawing creation process. So this is going to reduce the amount of time The individuals are spending, redoing their drawings and trying to make them look the same as other drawings, and it's going to give everyone a really consistent starting point for their drawings. Okay, so now that we've gotten started on the right foot, let's talk about Property Tab Builder. Property Tab Builder is a standalone utility that you can use to create a customized interface for entering in standard properties, including your custom properties, into SOLIDWORKS. Just as we did with our drawing templates, the custom tabs we create here are saved as a file, and they can easily be distributed across the company. So let's jump back into SOLIDWORKS, and let's see how we can use this utility. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with a drawing that's a little bit further progressed. So I've added in some other views here. And to access your Property Tab Builder, all you have to do is go over in your task pane, click on this little house, and now you see under SOLIDWORKS Tools, we have the option to open up the Property Tab Builder. This opens up a separate utility here. It's got 3 different sections. On the left, we have all of the different features that we can add in here to our custom property tabs. And then these are our actual tabs that we've created, and we can also control the attributes of those tabs. One really important thing before you get started, make sure you choose the type of property tab that you're going to be creating. You can create them for parts, assemblies, drawings, or weldments. So make sure you select drawing if you're going to be working in a drawing, or it won't show up in that context. Okay, so you always start with a group box, and then you can add these other features inside of that group box. Let's start by just giving this a name. I'm going to say drawn by. And this is just the title of that group box. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a text box in, and it's easy. You just drag it over into the middle section and drop it, and now you define specifics about it. So I'm going to call this name. This first part here, this is just a caption that you're going to see when you look at these tabs. Now the second thing here, under custom property attributes, this is the actual variable. This is your custom property name. So this needs to be unique. So I'm going to call this drawn by. The type text is fine. You can also select date or yes, no. And I'm going to put in my name, Loretta Stierka. I've created the first thing. So I'm going to drag another text box in here. You can reorder these, but it's really just drag and drop. And I'm going to put in the date. So I'm going to call that date. Name is going to be date drawn. And I'm going to select date from here. And I'm just going to leave this blank. So you can either leave these blank or you can fill them in with a default value. So you can keep on doing this. For the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to show you this list here. This gives you kind of some added control. Caption for me material, part material, and the type is list. You can actually enter in some predetermined values. So if you just have certain materials that you want everyone to choose from, you can enter them in here. And you can choose whether or not you want to allow custom values. This really gives you a little bit more control over what can and cannot be chosen for this particular custom property. Okay, so once you're done, let's just say I'm done. I'm going to go and say save. Double check that it's a drawing properties template if you're trying to create it for a drawing, and then just click the save here. I've already created one, so again, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom forward and show you what I created. Drawing properties. Okay. So very similar to what we saw earlier. The only other thing is that I added this checked box. What this allows me to do is determine what you'll see based on whether or not this box is checked. So when it's checked, you can see the name and the date. If it's not checked, these two fields won't appear. So if it wasn't checked, you're not going to have a name and a date to enter, so that makes sense. Okay, so now we're done building our custom properties tab. Let's see how we use it in SOLIDWORKS. Now we're back in our drawing. Over here in the task pane, there's actually a little tab called Custom Properties. Down at the bottom, we can select one of our templates for that. If we have more than one, we can switch between the two. And now we just go ahead and start entering in information. As soon as we enter in all of our information, what we want to do is we want to click Apply, and good to go. So notice how this title block updates based on the name that I put here. So that allows you to very easily update your title block and control which custom properties are being added in. Okay, so the final thing I want to talk about is the design checker. And we've already talked about maintaining consistency before we start our drawing, during our drawing, and now we're talking about how we can make drawings more consistent after the fact. SOLIDWORKS Design Checker is a set of tools used to check parts and assemblies, and especially drawing files, against a checklist of company standards. And this checker generates a list of failed checks and gives you detailed information about each. Like I mentioned earlier, this is especially useful after the fact if you have some legacy drawings that were created before setting up or even considering making standards, and you now want to use them and bring them up to standard. Okay, so where is Design Checker and how do we use it? Jump back into SOLIDWORKS. So the first thing you need to know is that it's actually an add-in. So to use it, we need to enable it. From Tools, we can access our add-ins here. And now we need to make sure that the boxes next to SOLIDWORKS Design Checker are checked on. Once you've done that, you can start building your own custom checker by going to Tools, Design Checker, and clicking on Build Checks. Okay, so we're going to create a new standards file. You can also open existing standards files and edit them or ask for help. I'm just going to create a new one now. All right, so on the left you can see we've got several different little symbolic tabs here. And those are filters that allow us to check different things. So we can check drawings or parts or assemblies. We can also check features. We can check dimensions, annotations, and we can check just our document in general. So I'm going to focus right now on doing a couple of document checks and some drawing checks and dimension checks since we're working in drawings. Let's look at these. So we can add in a check for custom properties. We can make sure that they have certain values for custom properties if we want. We can check our units. I want to make sure that we're working in IPS. And we can set the criticality of each of these checks. I'm going to say this is absolutely critical. Everybody needs to work in inches, pounds, and seconds. We can also change or check the font of various things within our drawing. There's the section font, section view label font, just a ton of stuff here, even your balloon font. So you can see we've got a lot of control here. We can even check the file location to make sure that it's in the correct place. So moving on, under our dimension checks, I want to check for overlapping dimensions. I don't want any of my dimensions to overlap. I think it looks a lot nicer without that. So I'm going to set that to critical as well. And within my drawing checks, I'm going to check to make sure that we're using that standard template that we just created. So B, Design Point Solutions, is what I saved it as. And I'll leave it as high. And just like I checked for overlapping dimensions, I can check for overlapping views. And I can also check for dangling dimensions. We can check the title block attributes as well. We can look at the bill of material balloons. And we can even select a display style that we want to apply to the rest of our drawing. So those are all our options. I'm just going to leave that the way it is for now. Once we're done, we want to go and check that we have everything that we want. So we can click on the Summary View tab here. And this will give us a summary of all the checks that we've added across all of the tabs, the criticality of them, the expected value, and the preferred value. If we're satisfied with that, what we can do is we can go ahead and save this check. We want to put this in a place that we'll remember. So maybe we want to put it on in a folder on a desktop. I've already created one again, so I'm not going to save this at this time. I'm just going to close out of it. And now we want to actually check this document. So the way that we do that is we go to Tools, Design Checker again, just like we did earlier to build checks, and we want to say Check Active Document. From here we can select which design checker we want to use. There are some standard design checkers. So you can see I've got my custom design checker checked right now. So I want to go ahead and click Check Document. And it's going to search through the document and find places where the document fails and list them for us. So you can see it says there are some dimensions that are overlapping. Let's check out which dimensions are overlapping. If I click on this, it highlights it in the graphics area. Right here, we can see that these two dimensions are overlapping. So if I just drag this one in, drag this one out a little bit, that should fix it. So let's go ahead and check to make sure that's the case. To recheck the document, you hit these green arrows up here, and it will update. You can see that that warning went away. Now we have another warning that says the drawing document's views are overlapping. So if we click on this, we can see where they're overlapping. Okay, same place. So if I drag this out and click refresh, now it says my document is per standard. That's a really easy way that we can check to make sure that our drawings meet the company's standards, and we can go through these and correct anything that's not per standard. Okay. So that's what I've got for you today. Thank you so much for coming out and attending this webinar. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future SolidNotes webinars, please just send me an email. My email is lshirka@design-point.com. And if you have any questions that need immediate attention, please don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email at support@design-point.com. So now at this time, I'm going to go ahead and see if we've got any questions. Looks like. When generating your own title block, can you link the scale to the actual scale of the drawing? I'm not sure I know what you mean by that. Do you mean... Yeah, can you explain that a little bit further? Or I can give you a call after this as well if you want to discuss it. Okay. Call after word order. Perfect. Just going to stick around for a few more minutes if we've got any other questions. Okay. It looks like there aren't any other questions. If you do have questions that you think of a little bit later, just give me a call. My number is 610-355-0551. You can reach me at extension 3. Again, my name is Loretta. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you next time.